Hey, what's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, and today is January 17th, Thursday, 2019. You know what that means. It's time for another Bungie Weekly blog, This Week at Bungie, and this one's actually got a lot of really interesting information in it. We learn a bit more about Sandbox Update 2.1.4 dropping on January 29th. We get to hear about some weapon changes as well as some exotic buffs and nerfs that are going to be coming down the line. And we get a fairly mysterious take on what the future of this franchise is going to be from someone we haven't heard from in a very long time. We're also going to be learning about some quality of life changes coming in the upcoming Sandbox update as well. And of course, we'll be giving you our thoughts on all of that in this video. Let's go ahead and dive on in. Now, first things first, we get a nice little message from Destiny franchise director Luke Smith. Of course, as all of you know, Bungie has separated from their publisher Activision. And this has caused waves throughout the community. A lot of people are really excited about what this means. And it seems like Director Smith took to the TWAB this week to talk about exactly what the future of Destiny is as a franchise. And we're going to go over everything he had to say right now. Hey everyone, I wanted to share 3 things on behalf of the Destiny team today. First, our sincere thanks to the people at Activision who've helped bring Destiny to our players. High Moon Studios for their wonderful collaboration on Forsaken, and Vicarious Visions who helped establish a Destiny community on PC, worked with us on Warmind, and who is currently readying their Destiny swansong with the content that will appear in the upcoming season of The Redacted. Shadows, by the way, it was already pretty much leaked. Next, in the short term, we're continuing to build the content we've promised for the annual pass. We've learned a lot from Black Armory that will apply to future releases. Most notably that we'd like the beginning experiences of content drops to be a better point of convergence for the player base. In Black Armory, we set the power requirements for the first forge too high, and that meant it wasn't a great chance to jump into some new content. We want to find the line between new content that many players can play and aspirational content for players to progress toward. We're exploring improvements to catch up mechanics for players in upcoming seasons. And last, long term, Bungie is committed to Destiny. We created the universe and we hold its future entirely in our hands. The vast majority of the team is hard at work envisioning future experiences, enemies, and ways to play the Guardian you've been building since 2014. We're going to keep doing that. We're thinking about what it means to be truly independent, what it means to self-publish, and crucially, what Destiny's future can now look like for our players. It was a busy fall, and it's going to be a busy year. When I look ahead and think about Destiny and where it could go, I see a bright future, with roots in a memorable past. Not everything has been lost in the dark corners of time. See you soon. So there we go. This is actually the first time we've heard from Luke Smith in an official capacity outside of maybe Twitter in quite some time, and he does address quite a few things there. First things first, I do have to say that first section there does seem like Bungie is going to be parting ways with High Moon Studios and Vicarious Visions. This is something we brought up in previous weeks when we first learned about the Activision-Bungie split. I figured that with them moving away from that publisher, they were probably not going to be keeping on High Moon Studios and Vicarious Visions, who helped, of course, with the PC port of Destiny 2, as well as the creation of DLC content like Warmind and Forsaken, which bums me out a little bit because those two studios did amazing work for this game. Additionally, there's been a lot of concern about what the future of Destiny as a franchise is going to be now that Activision is no longer a part of the picture. Is Bungie going to move on to other things, or are they committed to this franchise? And I think the second part here really kind of confirms that Bungie is committed to Destiny. They talk about their long-term goals here, stating that they're looking to continue this universe that they've created. And of course, we got that nice little reference to the Vault of Glass at the end there. Not everything has been lost in the dark corners of time. Now, what all this means, I don't want to extrapolate too much there, but it does look like Bungie is going to continue to commit to this franchise for the long term, which certainly makes me really happy. There are a lot of things to be excited about in Destiny's future, and I really can't wait to learn what more is going to be coming. We know the rest of the annual pass is going to be releasing as scheduled, but we have no idea what's going to be coming after that. I doubt that we'll be getting D3 this year, and we have yet to learn whether or not we're going to be getting another big expansion. I'd imagine that's probably been pushed off, and maybe they'll settle for another kind of annual pass sort of content release schedule. Who knows? The future is bright, and I can't wait to see what's coming. But alright, let's move on to some of the big Sandbox changes that are going to be coming in Update 2.1.4. Again, scheduled to drop on January 29th. Last week we learned about a lot of the super changes, and some of you Guardians were really excited about what you learned about. Well, this week we're learning about weapons. That's right, we're going to see some weapon buffs and nerfs in this update as well, and we get to learn a bit about what some of those are going to be in this week's TWAB. Let's go ahead and dive on into the weapon archetype changes that are coming. First up, auto rifles. Damage has been increased for rapid fire, adaptive, and high impact families. They go on to state that they find that auto rifles are a little unforgiving for the ranges they ask you to occupy in a world with special weapons. That's code words for shotguns. And as a result, we're increasing the damage to offset the higher risk. Next up, scout rifles. This is a class that has been needing a buff for a long time. Damage has been increased for lightweight and rapid fire families, as well as an increase to all scout rifles in PvE. Scout rifles are always going to be on the lower end of damage due to the safety that their range affords you, but the difference currently between them and other primary weapons is too drastic. As a result, we're reducing the size of the gap. This makes me happy. I kind of wish we got some hard numbers in here, but just knowing that we're going to be getting an across-the-board damage buff to scout rifles in PvE and an increase to lightweight frame and rapid-fire families in PvP definitely has this boy smiling. Next up, sniper rifles. They've increased the damage on the rapid-fire archetype to be able to kill in 2 body shots. Huge change. Although snipers are still finding success, we believe that allowing you to clean up a kill easier with a sniper rifle will allow the sniper to have that success at more ranges and in more situations. This isn't too crazy of a change. Those faster rate of fire sniper rifles right now are just going to get basically the benefit of being even longer range, harder hitting scout rifles. Kind of the way some of them performed back in Destiny 1. I've got no real problems with that change at all. But oh boy, up next we've got some big exotic changes coming down the pipeline. And first things first, we get to hear about some changes coming to that old school classic of D2, the Legend of Acreus, the original busted heavy weapon. It's an exotic that has been absolutely left in the dust with some of the new stuff that we've gotten since Destiny 2 originally came out, and I'm glad they're going to be addressing it first. They've increased the damage and bumped out the range slightly. As time moves on, things tend to trend upward in terms of power, and in a post-Forsaken world, Acreus simply didn't have the output to match other heavy weapon exotics, and I would absolutely agree. Again, this is another situation where I really would have appreciated some hard numbers, but hopefully we'll be getting that in the patch notes that we'll see moving forward. Next up is an exotic that has been causing quite a bit of conversation for quite a while, the Telesto. PvP damage has been brought down to match a standard fusion rifle charge rate. Boo, I don't like that. Optics, zoom was also increased to match fusion rifles with long-range scopes. Telesto has become fairly notorious in the Crucible for its effectiveness, even in some cases getting accidental multi-kills due to how damaging the explosions were. To combat these, we've reduced its PvP damage to match its charge rate. This brought up an issue where doing so was significantly hurting the usability of the weapon, so the optics were buffed in return. In general, you should still find it an effective weapon, it just won't be quite as generous as it was before. Now this is of course a nerf that we knew was going to be coming for a long time. Personally, I didn't really think the damage on Telesto was too much of an issue. The explosions definitely are super powerful, especially at range. But my big issue was the fact that you could just shoot these things and leave them for like 3 minutes straight before they would do anything. But I'm sure that there are plenty of Guardians out there who are happy to know that the Telesto is finally being brought into line. Next up, we've got some changes coming to trace rifles. They've increased the minimum amount of ammo you could receive from special ammo boxes once again. Trace rifles had a pretty rough time keeping ammo reserves in the Crucible, as it doesn't have access to scavenger perks. You should have more success using it more often in Crucible now. And the changes also affect PvE bricks. This is definitely a decent change to a weapon class that really needed the extra ammo in PvP. They've also reduced the strength of the Wave Splitter in PvP. After the ammo changes noted above, Wave Splitter had one of its weaknesses removed, so we've opted to bring it in line with other trace rifles before this patch hits the public. For those who don't know, Wave Splitter is the Void trace rifle that's only available on PS4 right now. And from what I hear, under the right circumstances, it's actually pretty gosh darn ridiculous, so it's getting a little bit of a nerf here too. But there we go, those are the big changes that they talk about here in the TWAB, although they go to note that other things are going to be getting looked at in this update as well. They're looking at future potential adjustments to include trace rifle damage in PvE, submachine gun damage adjustments, shotgun adjustments, and taking a holistic look at the heavy slot options and how much of an impact it has on loadout choices for PvE content. I really hope that last part there. I really hope it's code words for buff swords, because holy crap, these swords need help right now. But anyways, those are all the big changes we learned about in this week's TWAB. Before we get on out of here, there's one last thing we want to talk about, and that's some of the quality of life changes that will also be dropping on Update 2.1.4. These changes are going to be based on player feedback for the Black Armory experience. We're going to go through them very quickly. First things first, ballistic logs will no longer be removed at reset, and the stack limit for ballistic logs has been increased to 5 per character. Weapon frames carried across reset now refund into the following: gold frames refunded into 1 ballistic log, silver frames refunded into 3 modulus reports, and any instances of a radiant matrix will be removed on weekly reset. Players will also hopefully stop experiencing an issue where the frames go missing from Ada's inventory on a week-to-week basis. And players may still only purchase up to 2 gold frames per week. The drop rate for Black Armory lore has been increased from 10% to 20% and now requires successful forge ignitions for a chance to drop. Next, a quest step that requires players to defeat a high-value target on Nessus no longer requires a player to land the final blow. This is the captain thing, where like you could get a hit on him, but if somebody else killed him, it didn't count for you. Glad they're addressing that, although I kind of wish they would have just removed those steps entirely. But moving on, modulus reports and ballistic logs will now go to the postmaster if lost. And the cap on modulus reports is still going to be 15 per account. Finally, forge emblems will be awarded when completing a forge, no longer requiring a specific bounty to be completed. But there we go. While those aren't all the quality of life changes coming with update 2.1.4, they're all the ones they talk about in this week's TWAB. And I gotta say, I'm happy that they're making some changes here based on player feedback, although I'll say what a lot of you are probably thinking. I wish they would have figured out some way to retroactively go back and just unlock the forge for subsequent characters. I hate that you have to unlock Izanami and Gofanon on each character you play as, rather than just doing it on one and having the activities unlocked on your account. That still hurts me pretty bad. But alright Guardians, that is pretty much it for the biggest bits of news contained in this week's issue of the Bungie Weekly blog, This Week at Bungie. We've had some big things going on for the past couple of weeks, and there are some Guardians who are currently at Bungie testing out some new content, so you can probably expect to see some stuff coming out real soon. But anyways, that's all we've got today. Those are my thoughts. Be sure to leave me yours down in the comment section below. How do you feel about some of these weapon changes that are coming? What are your thoughts on the future of the Destiny franchise? Where do you think they go with this? What do you think the next expansion's gonna be? Do you think they're gonna expand on D2, or is it time for D3? Be sure to let me know. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But alright Guardians, it's gonna be it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.